Okay, here we go. Good morning, kids. How's everybody doing? I hope everyone's doing all right. I got my coffee. I hope you have yours too. Welcome to another episode of The Abyss. I am, of course, your host, The Eternal Abyss. Hi. I want to say hello to everybody on all the various platforms I'm on. It seems like I got D Live working again, so hello to those people on D Live. Hello to, of course, everyone on Bitwave, YouTube, Twitch, Periscope. And I think that's it. I don't think I'm forgetting any. So there was one thing I needed to check actually. Oh, Float. I knew I was forgetting one platform. I want to say hello to the folks on Float, because that should be technically working as well here, even though it's goofy. I'm having issues with that every once in a while. It doesn't always load correctly. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's my connection or if it's their servers. I don't know. But as mentioned, I do have my coffee. And there's always some fun stuff to talk about. One of the biggest news of the day last night, basically was that Jeff Bezos of Amazon, that prick, he is stepping down in a way. I mean, he's kind of stepping down as CEO, but he's still remaining like the chairman or something. Like he's always going to be involved with Amazon, but he's stepping down as CEO, and he's handing the reins over to this other dude, which, you know, I have his name here. Let me get it. He's making Andy Jassy the new CEO. And Andy Jassy, just so you guys know, is the CEO of the Amazon Web Services. So he's the prick who's directly responsible for shutting down Parler, for instance. Because he's the CEO of Amazon Web Services, so he's directly responsible in one form or another in Parler's shutdown. So this complete and utter asshole is now going to be in charge of Amazon. So if you think Amazon's going to make any sort of change for the better, don't get your hopes up. I say, don't get your hopes up at all, because it's not going to happen. Not going to happen at all. Actually, I would venture to guess that Amazon is going to get worse over time. I mean, Amazon in the past, this is the thing. Amazon had never really, before Parler, they hadn't really gone after apps and such that use their services. At least not to my knowledge. I'm not aware of anyone that of them doing that with other apps. I think this is the first time that they were very heavy-handed in their bias. They're very heavy-handed in their censorship, and they're very heavy-handed in their, Gestapo tactics. Take a sip of my coffee here. So that's where we're at with Amazon. I don't know why my theme keeps changing in Amazon by itself. Not Amazon, I'm sorry. I'm looking at Twitter, and my theme changed. I didn't authorize this. I didn't make any changes. I didn't do anything. So I don't know why this is doing that. It's weird. That's all I can say. It's very weird. So this guy's going to basically take over in the third quarter, Q3. So this is, to me, this is a sign of bad things to come in the future when it comes to Amazon. So I had said that I'm not using Amazon or Amazon Web Services or anything related to Amazon, and I'm done with them. I was done with them a while. I was already kind of done with them a while ago, but I was kind of not deleting my account just yet. But I'm gonna delete my account with them now because they don't deserve my money. They don't deserve my uh any sort of loyalty on my end. They don't deserve it. They don't deserve it from anybody. And on top of that, most of the time, you can find the same product cheaper elsewhere. That's the thing. They actually overcharge you. They overcharge you just because it's somewhat convenient to have it all in one spot. So I would much rather support the manufacturer and the producer of the product directly if it's worth buying, in my opinion. If not, then I'll just look elsewhere. But I'm not gonna be with. I'm not gonna use Amazon services in any way. I don't, at least not directly support them. I mean, I can't help it if maybe an app that I'm using uses their services. That's out of my hands. But beyond that, no, I can't get Float now to run properly here. It should be streaming to Float, but I can't. I'm trying to go over to the chat to pop it out so I can see if there's any chat happening and if the titling that I have is correct and everything on Float, and it's not working. So this is frustrating me. It might be just, I don't know. It was working the last time I streamed yesterday. So I really don't know what's going on with that. Really unsure. But anyways, moving on. So that was one of the big news, is that Bezos is stepping down. And like I said, I don't necessarily think that's going to bode well. So let's see, what else can we talk about in the news today? Sorry, just kind of looking up at the trends that are happening right now on Twitter. But one thing that I did want to talk about. Hold up. Let me get to the right. I got to get to the right window. This is a professional show. Oh, Denmark. Yeah, that was the thing I wanted to talk about. So basically, Denmark is going to be a pioneer, apparently. Denmark to pioneer digital vaccine passports to restart normal life. So they're going to basically institute a papers, please dictatorship. That's really what it is. Denmark's government has said digital vaccine passports will be used in 3 or 4 months to restart life in the country, and by the end of February, Danes can check their status online and print off their vaccination certificates. Speaking in Copenhagen on Wednesday, Finance Minister Morten Bodskov said Danish companies needed to get back on track to kickstart the nation's economy, and the digital vaccine passport was a key part of that. It will be the extra password that you will be able to have on your mobile phone that documents that you have been vaccinated. We can be among the first of the world to have it and show it to the rest of the world. Yeah. So, what about people that medically can't get vaccinated? Do they address that? I don't see anything of them addressing that. The finance minister stressed, however, that other requirements such as social distancing and mask wearing would not be would not be replaced by the digital passport. So not only do you have to have this now in Denmark, you have to have a stupid passport now. They're going to do that. You're still going to be forced to social distance and wear a dumb mask. I mean, you can't make this shit up. And Danish people are probably going to be so dumb that they're going to go along with this. So this is so amazingly retarded. This is a vaccine. I'm sorry. This is a virus with a 99.98% survival rate. It's a vaccine. It's a virus. I keep saying vaccine. I mean virus. This is a virus with a 99.98% survival rate. This is a virus that even for the most at-risk populations, you don't even have a high death rate. It's like 98 point something, if I'm remembering the numbers correctly. I mean, it is ludicrous. It is ludicrous that people have been locked down for nearly a year. Not nearly a year. We're at a year. People have been locked down for basically a year at this point. Economies have been destroyed for over a year. Lives have been disrupted for over a year. People have died needlessly, too, for over a year. Because, taking New York, for example, all the seniors that died in New York, they didn't need to die. So the death numbers are not even accurate. The number of cases of coronavirus isn't even accurate, because you have now, if you look at this article in the Daily Mail, there's an article in the Daily Mail that talks about coronavirus cases fall to pre-holiday levels. And this is after the CDC and Fauci were saying, well, we need to change the thresholds. That you can manually, and the CDC was like, you can manually change the thresholds so we get less positives. So basically what they're telling me is that they just manipulated the numbers from the very beginning. And YouTube and social media and all these other garbage platforms can put any sort of labeling on my streams and my tweets and whatever the fuck they want to do. But it won't change the reality. And that's the reality. The reality is, this is a virus that has a super high survivability rate. This is a flu. This is a flu. Just like any other flu. There's nothing particularly more mortal of this flu than any other. This isn't like pandemics in world history. This isn't a bubonic plague where half of Europe was wiped out. So this is just ridiculous. And people like Fauci can clearly put those masks right up their ass, in my opinion. Because they don't know what they're talking about. Well, I mean, they know what they're talking about. They have clear goals. There's this very specific reason why they're doing what they're doing. It had everything to do with politics. It had everything to do with hurting Trump. It had everything to do with trying to get Trump out of office. That's what it boils down to. That's it. And anyone who believes otherwise, I mean, I I feel bad for you because whoops, feel bad for you because there's no possible way that this wasn't political. This had everything to do with politics. Let's see here. Okay, Float is finally functioning again, and my title is still wrong. Jeez. Ah. Why does it do that? All right, let me go in here and adjust the titling and see if I can fix that. I guess you just gotta set that up when I'm actually streaming. I keep changing the title beforehand and it doesn't stick. Really bothersome, you know? Whoops. Really, really bothersome. I don't know how many people use Float. It's not a super well known platform at this stage, but you know, it's one of those kind of alternative ones that I've seen out there, and I don't know. It's all right. I don't see anything necessarily wrong with it at this point. Let's see. Yep, now it's working. There we go. All right. Super. So now I got all my 3 chats up. Lovely. What else is in the news here? Golden Globes are happening. Nobody cares. I mean, these award shows have lost so much viewership. I'm surprised they're still doing them, frankly. I mean, I know there's all this within Hollywood. There's this all, you know, self adoration. There's an amazing amount of self adoration, patting each other on the back and circle jerking each other. And you know, these are the same people that were calling people like Weinstein a god. He was such an amazing person. Until the Me Too movement came along and then exposed just what pieces of shit not only Weinstein was, but all of them were. Like Meryl Streep, Robert De Niro, all those actors and actresses that were like, oh, Weinstein's an amazing fellow. Oh, you know, all that crap. Please, give me a break. I don't understand anybody who watches that. Knowing, even, and this isn't even like, this isn't even a political thing. I mean, let's just for the fact that these people put someone like Weinstein on a pedestal, touted him around as if he was the golden calf, and then it comes out that he did all that trashy stuff that he did. How could you? How could anybody still support that shit? That has nothing, and like I said, that has nothing to do with whether you're conservative or um, you're a liberal or anything like that. It's just, it's basically, it's all trash. Everything in Hollywood is just trash, and I'm very much not interested in any of it. I don't care about it at all. The only good thing about the Golden Globes that I've ever seen was Gervais ripping all of them a new asshole because he knew he was never going to host it again, and he just let loose about how what pieces of crap they are, what total hypocrites they are, what total garbage they are. That was wildly entertaining. I remember watching that. That was wildly entertaining. And they were so dumb they didn't get it. They just laughed, or at least they got it, but they didn't want to give him the satisfaction. They probably did understand what he was doing and saying, but they didn't want to make a big scene out of it or anything like that. But yeah, that's happening. Let's see what else to talk about in the news today. Um, Andy Go is also trending because they're talking about Antifa and how much, how basically what domestic terrorists these people are. Because he's been exposing them little by little. He's been posting all the trash and garbage that they do. And there's this, I guess there's this article here. Whoa, that was loud. Uh, okay. Well, that kind of backfired. I can't read that article. All right. But there's this article in the Epoch Times, that talks about Antifa basically. So I don't know. I mean, this whole thing about Antifa is clearly a group that are out to commit violence. They've said so themselves. This isn't just an ideology, an idea, as some people put it. Yeah, you know what? It is an idea, and the idea is to commit violence. There's nothing noble about it. There's nothing good about it. And there's nothing anti-fascist about it because their whole tactics are indeed fascist. Simple. And the fact that law enforcement and governors and mayors have done nothing. They've done nothing to stop these people, which has resulted in property damage, in harm to individuals, and deaths. That just goes to show you. That goes to show you where the priorities lie and how idiotically politicized this whole thing is, because you have people losing their fucking minds over the fact that you had a handful of morons go into the Capitol building and cause some damage versus over not just a year. Antifa has been doing this since the Obama administration. That's when they started. Black Lives Matter and Antifa started back in the Obama administration because they were doing a lot of violence on campus, like at Berkeley, because they didn't want people like Milo Yiannopoulos or Ben Shapiro to speak. So they set shit on fire, broke glass, and rioted in the streets. And they attacked people like what's his name? McGinnis. This was even before his whole Proud Boys thing. Before he was involved in that, and then he disassociated himself with that. So anyone online, for example, if you look at the trends on Twitter and you have people raging over the fact, like right now, white privilege is trending because apparently someone was given permission to go to Mexico. That was at the Capitol riot. Okay, well, What about all the white privilege of all those white Antifa and BLM people that committed all these crimes, yet somehow nothing happened to them? I don't see any arrests of these people. I don't see any prosecution. I don't see any of them in jail. So please tell me, where is this white privilege that people are talking about? Or any privilege? Because the only privilege I see is that if you support the left and you commit crimes, nothing happens to you. Nothing at all. I don't see anything happening. But you have these people that are being that were pulled off planes as if they were terrorists. And you know, maybe they were. I'm not here to say that one riot is more righteous than another. That's not what I'm trying to say here. I'm just calling out the disparity, though. I'm calling out the difference in reaction, difference of behavior, different in language in the media and from politicians. For over a year, and actually not just over a year, for years, politicians on the left like Pelosi, she never condemned Antifa. Biden still hasn't. He hasn't condemned any violence on the left. And as soon as someone tried to condemn violence on the left, because that's what Trump did, actually, they turned that into a hoax. They turned that into the very fine people hoax when Trump was calling out, rightly so, violence on both sides. He was saying there were instigators on both sides, and there were bad people there, like which he explicitly pulled out of the groups. He talked about the white supremacists, for example, saying he's not talking about them, but he said there were on both sides very fine people. And the media kept going with this very huge lie to try and smear Trump as a racist and a white supremacist. And when there's people that look at this video of him saying the entire thing. I'm talking about the entire thing, not just a little cutout snippet. And people still don't believe their own ears and eyes because they just don't like the man. I mean, how blinded can someone be from ideology when you can't even believe your own ears and eyes when it's right in front of you? That to me is amazing. Online, I see this on Twitter all the time. People keep touting about that. I mean, even Biden kept pushing this garbage of the very fine people hoax. It's ridiculous. It is just disgusting that the media keeps pushing this thing, pushed this thing when it came out, kept pushing this thing, and is still doing it now if it comes up. And these news media outlets are still allowed to operate. It's amazing to me. Oh, speaking of news media outlets that are absolute trash, have you heard about Newsmax? What happened on Newsmax? So apparently you can't even talk about if there was an election fraud or not. Because even Newsmax will censor you now. So Mike Lindell, the MyPillow guy, he was on Newsmax for this segment. And there was this one female host and this other guy. I don't know who the hell he was. And they just would not let Mike Lindell speak. They kept talking over him. They reduced his audio level as well so they could speak over him. And then the guy just walked away. Not Mike Lindell, the other reporter. I don't know their names. I I would expect shit like that from like CNN and MSNBC, even Fox News. I even expect that from Fox News because Fox News is absolute trash. And now Newsmax has joined the ranks of pure garbage. The whole point of news, and I don't, and this is the thing that really surprises me. I don't understand how this kind of nuance eludes these dickheads. Basically, hey troll, how you doing? Yeah, raid my stream. I need views. Come on. Bring people. Bring your friends and neighbors. No kids though. The Eternal Abyss boys. That's right. This is the thing that I've never understood about news outlets. I mean, I understand that it's all propaganda. I get that. They pick and choose what they want to talk about, and they pick and choose how they want to talk about it. I get that. Excuse me one moment. I gotta blow my nose. Yeah, sure. Okay, Herb. Anyways. Shirley smoked him, but bum. Anyways, I'm not gonna get into that whole thing. I saw your messages because I saw that you messaged me on Discord, and I addressed that. And I feel my point still stands. Fine, whatever. You know what? You want to keep doing that nonsense? Keep doing that nonsense. My point is that my points stand. I have no evidence to show me otherwise. So you're right. The debate is moot at this point. But anyways, what I was gonna say is, in terms of news outlets, is that let me check something real quick. Okay, just want to make sure I have my other chat up here. My idea of what news should be is reporting facts, reporting different sides of arguments, reporting what happened, and then people can decide, make their own minds up. I mean, they're adults. People are adults. I think that's the key problem with the news nowadays. Not just nowadays. I mean, this is something that I've seen for a long time, even before my time. The news does not treat people like adults. The media does not treat people like adults. They think we're all retards. And they somehow feel that they need to treat us that way. Because if somehow we hear two different arguments and evidence provided by the two different sides of arguments, then we somehow, I guess our brains will explode according to them. I don't know. Well, yeah, CNN is the epitome of retardation, frankly. And Newsmax now has joined those ranks. Because I don't know if you saw what happened on Newsmax with the whole fact that they wouldn't let Mike Lindell speak, and the guy walked off the set. I mean, these people aren't adults. So it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And Newsmax had potential. I didn't like their election coverage, though. I did feel that their election coverage wasn't as good as it could have been. But at least, listen. If a weatherman says, "Hey, it's cold outside. Put on a jacket," or it's gonna rain, so you might want to bring an umbrella with you. At least he's basing his suggestion on, let's call it fact, because other people have been wrong all the time too. You have a platform. You have a platform. I'm not muting you. If I muted you off my stream and didn't let you derail me, then you have every right to say that I'm being a hypocrite because I'm censoring you. You can say whatever the fuck you want in chat. I don't care. I haven't muted. I don't recall the last time I muted someone in chat. I'm not spreading disinformation. I'm saying what my opinion is based off of what I have seen, and that's that. And if you don't agree with it, that's I'm sorry, but that's the onus is on you to get over it. It's not on me. My opinions are my opinions, and I don't have to change my opinions just because you don't like it. In fact, as a matter of fact, I have never changed my opinion just because someone didn't like it. That would be contradictory to who I am. Well, listen, when I build, you can come to me and complain about me deplatforming people when I build my own version of Twitter and you get on there and I ban you because I just don't like you. So until that happens, you have no ground. You have no foundation in your argument. Hey, Magna Zero, Hail King. How you doing, sir? Oh, yeah, I'm a hypocrite for allowing you to derail my stream twice. This is the second time you've done it. Yeah, he's high. He's probably high because he smokes the weed. I mean, it's his name. Deplatform, but with the country. I don't even have a country. I don't have a platform. I don't have a country. People do change. That is true. Hey, MZ, how you doing? Listen, do whatever you want, man. I don't know. Herb is all butthurt. Okay, this is what's happening, Magna. Herb is butthurt because, as most people who engage in smoking weed, as not for medical purposes. Okay, we're talking about using weed for getting high. He is derailing the stream, making it about himself again because it's weed 24/7 with him. His name, what he smokes, what he constantly talks about in Lawson Watson, blah blah. Yeah, I get that. Listen, a lot of people that use substances for their own entertainment, all right? There's a specific word for it, and I can't think of the word right now. Like MZ, for example, if you use it for a legitimate medical reason, I have no reason to have an issue with that. For instance, if you have a medical reason to use that, then fine. All right. He smokes weed because his daddy. Oh, jeez. But anyways, the point is this: if you want to engage in using substances to goof around with your brain, so be it. If you want to use these substances because you have a legitimate medical reason for it, so be it. So I don't care what you do in your life. As I said in yesterday's stream, all I care about is where my money is going. And I feel that my money, when it comes to taxes in general, not just regarding this issue, well, I have to take allergy medicine to visit Texas anyways because Texas destroys my allergies. Honestly, there's several states that just destroy my allergies. I want to go give me some drain cleaner. Just in moderation, Magna. In moderation. No, but I mean, the point is this. What you do in your personal life, at the end of the day, I don't care. However, I have every right to say whether I agree or disagree with it. And I disagree with smoking weed for, just because you want to get high. If you abuse any substance for that purpose, to me, is dumb. Even anything. If you abuse alcohol for that matter, to me, is dumb to just get wasted all the time. You're causing severe damage to yourself. So, and the point is, Herb, whatever hypocritical thing you tried to say to me, saying that I'm a hypocrite, is nonsense. I feel that it's absolute nonsense because I haven't stopped you, I haven't blocked you, I haven't muted you. I don't know what booze cures. Booze gives you beer goggles, so it cures, I guess it cures ugliness. Maybe there's that, I don't know. Severe damage, for booze? Hey, Chillwave. Hi. Well, yeah, I mean, there's diseases related to alcoholism, like cirrhosis of the liver. That exists. I've known people who have died because of booze and pills and drugs. Weed? That does cause damage. Smoking any substance does damage to your lungs. Smoking weed also does cognitive damage to people whose brains are still not developed. Like if you're smoking weed as you're developing, that affects your cognitive abilities. It does damage to your lungs. You're putting smoke stuff like tar and whatever. Not tar. It's not tar. Yes, it's proven. There's been plenty of studies. There's been plenty of studies. Look it up. I'm not gonna start like pasting a million links in my chat here. Anyways, you guys derailed my stream again. It's not a Fox News position. It's scientific studies. Like, get over it. Just because you only want to hear... See, this is the typical thing, like what leftists do. They only want to look at their studies. They only want to look at their numbers. Like, there's a study... This is another news item that came out. Let's get back on track here. There's a study that came out about bias in the media and bias on social media. Everyone should try a scoop of arsenic. I don't know if I want to do that. No, it's like there's this study that came out, okay? There's a study that came out saying that there's no such thing as bias towards conservatives in social media. There's no such thing as that. The study says that. And guess who funded the study? A guy who gave a bunch of money to Biden. So, you know what's going to happen now is that people are going to use that study and say, well, see, there's no bias in the media. There's no bias in social media. Conservatives are just butthurt. Her. Is that right, Magna? Weed is for pussies. Give me a brick of heroin. No, I'm not calling you a leftist. I'm saying that people that adhere so strongly to a point, and it doesn't matter what political spectrum you're on or what the point is. It could be weed, it could be booze, it could be gambling, it could be Trump, it could be guns, it could be First Amendment, it could be anything. Go big or go home. Yeah, I know, right? For the record, I don't advocate doing drugs. Just saying that so I don't get my ass reamed by YouTube. Um, but basically, if people adhere so strongly to something, they blind themselves to any sort of other information that may detract from their point or contradict them. You can have your garden herb. See, you're conflating things. That's why I'm not doing a debate with you, because you're not listening to what I'm saying. You're conflating and extrapolating garbage from what I am saying. I have never said you can't grow a plant, and I have never said that it needs to be criminalized in the way it's been criminalized. What I am saying is I feel that it's a dumb behavior. Period. Much like I feel it's a dumb behavior for people to, I don't know. Let me give you a dumb example. Bungee jump. I think bungee jumping is dumb. This is way better than the news. It's more entertaining, I think, for sure. I mean, just because I don't agree with a certain behavior doesn't mean I have to debate the nuances of bungee jumping now. I'm not making false statements. It is dumb. If you smoke weed to get high, I'm sorry, in my opinion, that makes you dumb. Actually, doing any drugs in general, any substance abuse in general, to me, is dumb. Government wants you stupid, and you're enabling that. That's all I'm saying. The more people dumb themselves down that way, keep themselves ignorant of what's happening around them. This is why we're at a situation where we're at right now in the United States and in the world. I never said drinking alcohol is okay. I think abusing alcohol, I think, let me be clear, I think abusing any substance is dumb. Saying that just makes me want to do more drugs. Well, hey, listen, you're free. You're free to do what you want to do. Well, the government may say they hate weed, but listen, they've allowed weed to come through the border. They've allowed weed to come through into the cities. I crossed the line with the bungee jumping. Well, I'm sorry. I don't like the idea of strapping a giant rubber band to me and jumping off a cliff or a bridge. Well, if you use weed regularly, it makes you dumb. And that's the equivalent of abusing it, in my view. If you're abusing your body, basically, I don't think that's a good idea. Huffing paint is a human right. Anyways, the point is this. I am very much a purist. Okay, that's my philosophy. My philosophy is that keeping yourself pure in terms of being free of chemicals in you is better than putting garbage in you. Well, not really, Magna, because if you're developing your brain, same thing with like hormone treatments. If you do those hormone blockers to prevent people, like puberty blockers. If people use puberty blockers when they're young, because that's obviously when you use it, it actually affects development of the brain, because up until like between the ages of 0 to I think it's like 23 or 24, your brain is still in development. Well, yeah, obviously, when you're a kid, you shouldn't be doing that stuff. And as an adult, I'd be just very careful with that kind of stuff. What border is that? The Mexico border. Southern United States-Mexico border. There are plenty of drugs over the years that have there's this whole industry down in south of the border there that they bring drugs and human trafficking in. Where have you come from? That's where a lot of drugs come in from too. Not all, obviously. No. I mean, weed comes from different places. And now, especially with certain states that have it legalized, now you have different sources that are legal sources. Well, has the war on drugs done anything, Herb? In all the years that I've heard the government talk about the war on drugs, they've really done nothing to prevent it. They pretty much allow it. You have people like the Democrats. Democrats want open borders. They have not secured the border. So yes, the government has allowed it. They may talk about war on drugs. They may talk about wanting to prevent drugs from coming over the border, yet they've done nothing to prevent it. No, and prohibition doesn't work. I agree with that. I agree that prohibition doesn't work. Prohibition is not a good idea. That's why it's better to educate people about that kind of stuff. Instead of promote the use of this stuff, you just educate people and say, listen, you want to use this, you just be sure you know the consequences. Oh, yes, I'm sure they did, Magna. I am sure they did. They made a lot of money off of it. You're right, Herb. You're right. There's a death penalty for drugs in China. There's still tons of it, yeah. Yeah, educate. That's what I'm saying. All I'm saying is, listen, I don't know. Well, I say if you're gonna legalize it, I feel that it should be regulated a bit. That's all I'm saying about legalization, because I don't like the idea. I don't like the idea that someone can go into a store, buy like these gummies. No, I don't want all drugs legal. No, not all drugs. Certain drugs I don't feel should be legal at all, because some drugs are just too damaging. There's no really safe way to do certain drugs. Well, listen, if let me do one point at a time. The edibles, I don't like the idea of the edibles being so easily accessible that someone buys them and then kids could eat them, because if they're gummy bears, for example, then they look like gummy bears. No, my money should not go to that. I believe in selective taxation. I believe that no, actually my belief is not selective taxation. My belief is itemized taxation. It is the least dangerous one. I would say so, yeah. I would agree with that, Magna. I'm not saying that I'm not saying that weed is the most dangerous drug on the market. But I would say that certain drugs shouldn't be legal. Like what they did in Oregon, I think that's a bad idea. I mean, when Oregon decides to act like GTA, in GTA 5, there's this whole joke about they want to legalize medical cocaine. They did it in Oregon. I mean, they've turned themselves literally into the joke that's in a video game. Well, you haven't shown me that my money doesn't go to that. And in fact, in your Discord, you said that there's a chance that my money goes to those billboards, because if New York, for example, doesn't have stuff legalized, or they have stuff legalized, but it's not quite legalized, because New York is it has weird things when it comes to that. Then if they put up billboards using my taxes, the government uses money to put those billboards up, then it is my money being used for that. You conceded that yourself in my Discord. I think that listen, when it comes to medical marijuana, first of all, there's ways to synthesize the CBD. You said that. I can. Do you want me to paste? Fine, I'll paste it. There we go. Let me look it up. I'll get it and I'll paste it since you don't want to believe what I'm saying. Let me go get that. Give me a second here. These are your words. Okay? Your words. You can see that in circumstances how New Jersey legalizing weed would cost New York taxpayers money. So there are circumstances where that could happen. You conceded that. That doesn't matter if it's a byproduct. It doesn't matter that it's a byproduct. You're mincing words at this point. You just proved my point in that little blurb right there. No, I just pasted your own words, okay? And if you don't like your own words, that's your problem, Herb. All right? That's your problem. No, I said that my taxes are used. I don't care how they're used. They're used. My stance has not changed. You're switching the goalpost now. Because you just proved me right. All right, fine. Let me see if I can turn on TTS. Let's see if you guys can hear what's going on now. What? 1 second. I think I gotta switch something here real quick.
Herbert Green says, yes it does, it isn't an effect of New York legalizing. If New York legalized they would pay for weed education from weed taxes like all other states, but go ahead and grasp at the straw I threw you. Magna Zero says,
but you don't know that.
But Magna Zero says, you need desktop audio.
But you don't know that.
Magna Zero says, you got it, never mind.
But you don't know that, Herb. That's the problem. You don't know that because when my taxes go into their coffers, there's no itemization. There's no distinction.
Herbert Green says, yes, I
No,
do.
you don't. No, you don't. Okay? You may like the idea of that, and they may tell you that. But in practice, I want to see in practice if you trace money, if that's actually the case. Because with the gambling example that I gave you, that doesn't happen. It didn't happen in Detroit. It doesn't happen anywhere else. So you can claim that all you want.
Yes, there is.
No, there is not. The state and city of New York are not transparent enough.
Says, some things aren't paid out of the general fund.
Some things aren't, some things are.
Says, D.
Some things are, some things aren't. I don't see any sort of itemization of when I'm paying state taxes. They just say.
Herbert Green says, like I said, he need to limit the discussion to one state.
No, I don't need to limit the discussion to one state because it applies. Whether it's the state I'm living in or if it's other states.
Weed isn't even legal in New York.
Actually, and there you're wrong. It's not technically legal, but New York has made, especially New York City, has made a lot of changes.
R1EQ says, New York is gay.
They made a lot of changes in their laws, which basically make it legal, but even though it's not technically legal on paper.
Herbert Green says, yes, because the law is different in every state.
Even if it's different in every state, my argument still stands. Whether it's the state I'm in or surrounding states.
It's not technically legal.
No.
Troll SABH says, I'm going to try to make an abyss argument. Listening to a guy named Herb tell me that weed is good is like listening to someone named LGBT or Jank and tell me how good trannies are. Prove me wrong. You know, if everyone used condoms, AIDS wouldn't spread. No bias at all. Herbert Green says, that means it isn't legal. Chili Wave says. Magna Zero says, shit, well, with how bad Biden is fucking up, it's not going to be legal anymore from the way he's been making stupid move after stupid move. Herbert Green says, what you are trying to say is decriminalized.
Well, it's not just decriminalized. They actually have where you can get vapes, you can get edibles. There are some places in New York that allow you to do that, even though it's not, quote, technically legal, because New York has put New York City specifically, I don't know about the whole state.
Herbert Green says, which isn't legal.
It doesn't matter if it's...
Herbert Green says, show me.
Listen, I've been...
Magna Zero says, no there is not.
Okay.
Herbert Green says, where in the law you can buy THC edibles?
The city of New York. I'm not talking about the state. I'm only talking about the city.
Says, you only can buy from dispensaries.
Exactly, there's dispensaries.
Herbert Green says, it's either legal or illegal. They might now enforce it, but it isn't legal.
No, listen, you don't know...
SABH says at Magna Zero weight is bidden criminalizing weed.
You don't know...
I missed that.
You don't know what's going
Magna
on.
Zero says, I'm just saying he might.
You don't know what's going on in New York City, okay? I've been there. I've lived there.
Not.
So, New York City, I'm not talking about the state.
Herbert Green says, you don't know.
Sure, I lived there and I've dealt with people in the industry and I wouldn't know. You know what, Herb? Go fuck yourself, all right? I'm done with this debate. You think you know everything? You don't. I've been there. I've worked with these people.
At Magna Zero Abyss is riding with bidden if the weed is controlled.
No, Biden is a dictator. He can go fuck himself.
By the way, I haven't said one thing about weed being good. Herbert Green says, I don't think weed is good.
It's irrelevant whether you think it's good or not. All right?
Herbert Green says at the Eternal Abyss it isn't legal in any way. Herbert Green says, it will be soon though.
That's fine, but the thing is, like I said, you don't know the nuances of what's going on in New York City, for example, so you can blather on all you want. I was there, I lived there, I dealt with these people, I worked with these people. And I know that New York City has ways, like New York City itself. I'm not talking about the state.
Meth is legal in Oregon, so it must be good for you then.
Everything is legal in Oregon.
Says, LOL.
Everything is legal in New York. I mean, in Oregon. I still find that amazing. So if I wanted to do crack, I can just do crack or, meth or whatever. Heroin. Doesn't matter. I don't think that's going to end well. I mean, you already had an opioid crisis here in the United States. You opened that floodgates.
Meth isn't legal in Oregon, it's decriminalized. Magna Zero says, yet Oregon is a fucked up state.
It's a very fucked up state.
Herbert Green says, there is a very big difference.
What? So they don't arrest you, but you can still get it? That's pretty much the same as legalizing in a way, because if I can get meth willy-nilly and there's no consequence to it, then
Herbert Green says, difference.
Then it doesn't matter at the end of the day whether it's legalized or decriminalized. At the end of the day, I have access to it, I can abuse it, and I can cause damage to myself and others.
Herbert Green says, there are no legal markets.
Doesn't matter if there's no legal markets. Listen, if I can get it, I can get it. Doesn't have to be a legal market. And if there's no consequence...
Herbert Green says, people still acquire it on the black market.
Exactly. People can still get it. I think my coffee's cold now. Ew. Yeah.
Magna Zero says, yeah, that is kind of a stupid argument.
What does it matter if it's a legal market or not,
Herbert
or an
Green
illegal
says,
market?
You think there is no difference between a black market and a white market? Magna Zero says, oh shit no. Magna Zero says, nigger market. Magna Zero says, LOL. Herbert Green says, I didn't say they couldn't get it, I said it was different.
It may be different,
SABH says, they have steampunk bordellos in Oregonian land, This whole meth thing explains a lot.
Steampunk
Herbert Green
bordellos.
says, regulation, taxes, lots of things.
Well, listen. All I am saying at the end of the day is I feel substance abuse in general is not a smart way to go through life.
Herbert Green says, what is the difference between a pharmacy and behind a dumpster on Skid Row?
Well, the pharmacy can tell you no.
Magna0 says, a knife wound.
That too. That too. A knife wound will probably be a big difference there. Anyways, I think there were a couple other things I wanted to talk about.
Magna0 says, a gunshot wound.
Oh. Did you hear about this, that David Hogg is on Tinder?
Magna0 says, meh, fuck it, let's just chit chat.
Yeah. But did you hear about this?
Says, so let's get this debate scheduled and we can move on.
No, we're done with the
Troll
debate.
SABH says, yeah, they have open steampunk communes for libtard commies in Oregon at the Eternal Abyss, basically like Chaz MKI. Magna0 says, do some shots. I'm 10 years old and I love you. Omegla says, welcome to Bitwave, where kids ages 8 to 15 will love your boring shitty copy and paste Omegle content and people will watch your racism in action. Disgusting child groomer, keep talking to children and saying nigger and offensive words to young kids. Disgusting Omegle Jew streamer. Herbert Green says, we didn't have a debate.
Mr.
Says,
I'm 10 years old and I love Omegle.
Trying to deflect in every direction possible. Magna0 says, Herb should know he is a master debater.
I'm 10 years old and love Omegle. I don't know what you're talking about because I've never done anything Omegle related. So that may have been directed at some other channel, not mine. I'm not deflecting. My points still stand. You have not disproved any of my points. All you said to me, essentially, in a matter of speaking, is, Neener, you're wrong. I don't agree with you, and that's my debate.
Says, don't respond to that.
That's essentially what you've done in your arguments in chat. And we have agreed on a couple things, actually, so we kind of did have a debate. Whether you like it or not, because you want to do it in voice. I'm not going to do a voice debate. I'm not interested in that. This isn't a debate show. This is a me griping
Herbert
show.
Green says, you refuse to engage on the tax issue you brought up.
Because you conceded that there's situations where my
what?
taxes can be used for it. Why do I need to engage in something when you already conceded that? And I've given you already examples of where taxes were claimed.
Herbert Green says, the whole thing is about taxes, and when I bring that up, you change the topic.
Okay, then let's address the taxes.
Herbert Green says,
you said your own words, and I can paste them again right here.
The Eternal
See?
Abyss says, but
your
I imagine
words.
That the state of New York would
Your
put up
words.
billboards warning people coming
Your
from New
words.
Jersey that weed is illegal in New York, etc. And I can see in that circumstance how New Jersey legalizing weed would cost New York taxpayers money.
Your
the
words.
Eternal Abyss says, but I imagine that the state of New York would put up billboards warning people coming from New Jersey that weed is illegal in New York, etc. And I can see in that circumstance how New Jersey legalizing weed would cost New York taxpayers money.
It's your words.
The
You
Eternal
conceded.
Abyss says,
You
but I
conceded that
imagine
there
that
are
the state of New
circumstances where
York would
I'm
put up
right.
billboards warning people coming from New Jersey
Okay.
that weed is illegal in New York, etc.
And that
I
is
can see in that circumstance how New Jersey legalizing weed would cost New York taxpayers money.
I'm causing my own
Says,
pass.
the
Hold
whole
on.
thing is also gay, but you won't point that out. Padre says, I can't cons need.
Cons need.
Herbert Green says, look dude, it is an
No,
exception.
I don't
that
think
proves the
that's a
rule.
win. I don't think that's a win.
Herbert
All
Green
I'm
says,
saying is that
go ahead, paste the straw.
All I'm
Troll
saying is that
SABH
there are
says, "Await among the
circumstances
says,
where, hold on,
Herb needs to stop tugging his little pole and get right with Jesus."
let me lower the
Magna Zero says,
TTS for a second. I think it's a little
"LOL."
bit too loud.
Herbert
I
Green
think
says,
the issue is
"LOL
this.
if you think that is a win." Padre says,
Nobody
"LOL."
wins. This is the internet. Magna, you are
Magna
so
Zero
right.
says, "Nobody wins."
No, this isn't a win
Magna
or
Zero
lose thing.
says,
This is just the
"Ever."
fact that
Magna Zero
you
says,
can
"This is the
concede.
internet."
You can concede yourself that there are circumstances where my
Magna
taxes are
Zero
used in
says,
ways that I don't
"We
want
are
them to be
all
used,
losers for
right?
being on the internet."
Well, let's forget about the weed argument for a moment. Are you willing to concede that my taxes are being used in certain ways
Cons need.
that I don't want them to be used?
Troll SABH says, "At Magna Zero." Herbert Green says, "All I said is that if one state changes their law it impacts other
Do it,
states."
Padre.
Padre says, "I feel like doing a handstand and lighting my nips on fire." Herbert Green says, "Yes."
Okay, so if you can concede that, and I've given you examples where that's happened outside of
Troll
weed.
SABH says,
It's happened with gas. It happens with, because I have to pay extra taxes on getting gasoline, for example. I have to pay to help stuff that I have nothing, that I'm not involved in.
Friend says, "WTF."
So
Cons
you
needed.
really think that if the government says we're only going to use taxes from this revenue to do something, you think they're really going to only do that? Because every example that I've seen in the past when they say, well, the gas taxes, we're only going to use the gas taxes to build roads, and then they use other taxes on top of that because it's never enough.
"This just makes me want to use more drugs."
Or with the gambling thing, oh, all the money from gambling is going to go back into the coffers of the city of Detroit, and it's gonna turn it back into the days before the riots happened. That never happened.
Troll SABH says, "At Fern, if only Mike Tyson would cons need to you."
What I'm saying is, on paper, yes, it would be great. It would be great if on paper, what they say, that if all tax revenue from weed pays for all that stuff. Listen, if that's the case, great, fantastic. Unfortunately, the reality is, most likely it's not going to happen. Because it's not how government works. Government is not efficient. Government is not truthful.
Padre says, "Oh, that Mike Tyson gives me the vapors."
So,
Herbert Green says, "So your issue is what they use the weed taxes for? I thought your issue was about your taxes like property sales tax, etc."
my issue is, if they claim, well, there's two tax issues. One is, I don't like my taxes going to things that I don't agree with. I don't want my taxes going to abortion. I don't want my taxes to go to other education programs that are all this liberal stuff. I don't like that at all.
He won't do it.
I'm not gonna do it.
Dumb typing this out.
I'm not gonna do VC.
LOL, really? Herbert Green says, "I've been asking for a debate for 2 days."
Fine, get on the voice chat. I'll give you 10 minutes tops.
Friend says, "Why?"
I'm gonna turn off the.
Says, "Good question."
I gotta turn off the TTS. Get to the waiting room before I change my mind. You're not even paying. Well, listen. Unfortunately, I'm at an age where taxes matter to me, unfortunately. But I'm gonna let me be clear about this, Herb, though. I'm on various platforms that are idiots. So don't say anything ridiculous that could get me banned, okay? That's one of the ground rules I'm going to set for this mini debate that we're going to have. And I'm not gonna let this go indefinitely. Like I said, I'm gonna give you like maybe 10 minutes, something like that, just to have a brief conversation. Let you say what you want to say, and then we'll keep going. I appreciate that, but I'm just saying, I'm not assuming you would be. I'm just setting the ground rules only for the fact that I'm on idiotic platforms like YouTube and Twitch. So I want to try and abide by their terms of service. That's all. So that's it. But the whole point for me when it comes to this sort of thing, why can't you just get into my... Wait. What happened? Uh-oh. No, you have an audio issue? Can't you just...
Oh, it's working now.
Oh, okay.
Oh, great. Hey, Abyss, how's it going?
It's going all right. There's no camera on or anything, right?
I don't have any camera on. I'm not recording. No, on your end, no. I just see your
Okay.
avatar.
Just want to be sure.
Oh, no worries, man. It's
All right.
better safe than sorry.
So
Well,
let me just make sure that people can hear you. Say something real quick.
Something real quick.
Okay, let me raise your level a little bit so you're about the same as me here. All right. So welcome,
Okay.
Herb.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you inviting me on.
Yeah.
So I guess I don't know if you want to start.
I don't know. I mean, to me, I feel that there's really not much of a debate here because my only issue is I've seen many examples where those kind of claims are made as you made, where certain things are legalized or allowed, and they say, well, the revenue that comes from that is going to be used in so-and-so fashion. And then they just aren't, though.
Right, but that's not the point you were making. You were talking because that's not taxes that you're paying unless you're gambling or you're. I understand that's an issue. I'm not saying that's not a point, right? But that's not the point you were making. We're talking about your taxes unless you're gambling or you're drinking alcohol or you're. I mean, I guess with the gas tax, I mean, you are participating in that, but you know what I mean. So that's different. Like if they say they're going to use that money for, if they say they're going to use the money for one thing and then they decide to use it for something else, that's different than as long as they're not using what you were complaining about was them using your taxpayer money to fund weed related activities like the billboards and stuff like that.
Yeah, and there are circumstances, as you said in the Discord chat, there are circumstances where that can happen.
Yeah, I mean, I stand by what I said, but you understand that's like the most edge case. That's the whole reason I even used it was try to, like, to let you know that I wanted to I want to have a good faith argument. Like for example, if Mexico legalized weed, America would have to put billboards up to say, hey, weed's not legal in America, just like Mexico has to put boards up saying that weed's not legal in Mexico because it's legal in California. I mean, you have to, like, when different states do things around you, have to the states around them make changes. I mean, I think it's hardly like them. Like, how much money do you think they used for a couple of billboards? And I mean,
Well,
whatever.
I don't know what the amount
that's not
is.
even that's not even the point. The point is that if New York legalized weed, and they would be paying for the billboards like New Jersey does, like Colorado does, like all these other states. If they have billboards like that, have their funding is from the weed taxes.
Yeah.
It's not like they're gonna say, oh well, we set this up to only get funded from the weed taxes. What do you think? They're not gonna make enough weed taxes to cover the billboards? I mean,
Well, I don't
like,
know. That's the thing, because it's not like they give me any sort of itemization, and then it's not just the state level; it's also federal level. Because,
well, they don't give
like,
you an itemization, but you can find like something, not a complete itemization, but you can find out where they're pulling money for different government. It's not like they send it to you. No, you can look at your state's budget and you can see where funds are being pulled from.
well, the point is this: regardless of if they use these funds for one thing or another, the point is that my taxes still fund all the infrastructure that surrounds that industry, whether I'm funding it directly or not, because I got to still fund the police, I got to still fund the fire department, I still got to fund all this other stuff. And if my taxes are increased because now there's a higher demand on, this is a dumb example, and I grant it's a dumb example, but it's just an example to illustrate what I'm talking about. But let's say because all these dispensaries are now open and there's a higher production of weed in the state that I happen to be in, now all of a sudden all my water taxes go up because the water company decides they're gonna.
That's not a dumb example. In fact, like power
Yeah,
might be a better one, like because
exactly.
they
Yeah,
use a lot of power. I mean, that's not dumb, and that to me is valid.
yeah,
Actually,
and
that to me is a very, but that's with any industry. Like if there was a Bitcoin mining operation that moved to town, you'd have the same effect.
yeah.
Would you be totally like so? But like you're not like that. That's actually bringing up the tax base. I mean, like you understand that because you're a Republican and you appreciate like businesses like coming to town. Like you
Well,
understand that
hold
when
on.
like if a big industry moves to town, that increases the tax base and it's a good thing for the community, right?
Yes, but just to be clear, I'm not a Republican. I don't want to be associated with those traitors.
Oh yeah, I'm a are you a conservative now? Is that what
Conservative.
we're calling you?
I've
Okay.
always been. I've never been a registered Republican. Never, ever, ever.
Oh, you don't vote in the primaries. You don't have to register to vote in the primaries.
Well, I've moved around a lot, so I've been in some states where it's open, and I could just go in and vote, and I've been in some states where you need it to be registered. So, I usually, if it's something that requires a registration, I just don't participate in that.
I
But
mean, listen, there's a lot of reasons. I mean, any reason I guess is valid, but I just don't see like the tax deal. Like if you don't like the smell, like that's a probably the biggest complaint people have with legalized weed is the smell. Because you go these
it smells
places are
awful.
all over town and they smell like weed. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so if you don't like that smell, then that's a you know that's a quality of life issue. I can understand people bitching about that. You know
Well,
what I mean? And there's
you know what, the smell issue to me isn't just a smell thing. Like, it actually, because I have a lot of sinus issues. In fact, I'm still dealing with sinus issues. People could probably hear it in my voice right now. So to me, it's more of a sinus. It's like a medical issue for me, because the harsh smells of any kind. Even like if I go by that New York candle company in the mall,
Mhm.
that wave of fragrances, it just makes my sinuses go absolutely bananas. For example.
Well, the problem with this, like any debate around weed, is there's so many different, like especially because it's such a big part of culture now. Like so many people are using it. It's illegal and getting close to like half the states. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's legal in some form in almost all the states. Even Texas has some form of legal cannabis. Um, but like so, there's
Ew, is
all these.
that right, Troll Sab H? Is
What's
that
that?
true, Herb? That weed has 400% more ammonia than cat piss and cigarettes?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe. I
Eee.
don't
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
know. But yeah, I mean, there's like so many micro issues. Like there's like the driving issue, which I mean, you can do like there's even on that topic, it's super nuanced because people who aren't familiar with weed, haven't used it, or have only used it like once or twice, they want to put it in the exact same category with alcohol, but it's not near as impairing as alcohol. I'm not, you know what I mean? I'm not saying it doesn't impair like some people very badly. It's just a lot bigger range of effect. You know what I mean? And it's hard to test it, right? Because it stays in your fat. So you can't test someone and see if they're high. You can only test someone and see if they've smoked in like the past couple days, you know?
Right.
So there's all like in any level of it, you could talk about like, oh, well, there's, like what I saw some article was saying that one of these anti-weed things was saying that, oh, there's a correlation with like the increase of opiates in Colorado with them legalizing weed. And it's like, okay, yeah, that was called the opiate crisis. You know what I mean? It happened in all 50 states, not just Colorado. So I mean, there's all these like little sneaky things that like people will get you to look at, and they're on both sides. I have no doubt. I think
Yeah.
a lot of the cancer stuff has to do with the fact that a lot of these cancer patients are receiving, our own weed, getting cancer treatments. You're going to get all kinds of correlations just because so many people are using it.
Well, yeah, and I understand that correlation doesn't necessarily mean causation. I completely understand that as well. So I mean, I get it, and that's why to me, like I do make a difference between a legitimate medical condition and reason for using certain things versus if you don't, and even just medical certain like when it comes to like certain invasive procedures and exams. Like to me, there's a lot of superfluous exams and procedures that are done that are very invasive to people that are not really medically necessary. People do it because of vanity. They do it because of whatever, or they do it because like I can tell you, for example, I had someone who.
All right, sorry, I cut out for a minute. I had an issue, but go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying that, I feel this is not really related to weed per se, but I also feel that if there's a legitimate medical reason for doing anything, be it partake in any sort of like medicinal use of something, or an invasive examination or an invasive procedure or something like that. But there's a legitimate medical reason for it, then I say sure, fine, whatever. There's a legitimate medical reason for it.
Uh,
I don't have an
okay,
argument against that. I don't like that. I don't like that in the medical industry in general, because I can even tell you in the medical industry in general, I knew a nurse practitioner who gave me all this dirt on, for example, what happens because she worked with a doctor who was a GI doctor, so he always did like these, the proctology exams and such. And this guy would get, for every like scoping that he'd do up a person's ass, he'd get like $5,000 a pop. So for any minor stupid reason, he goes, well, let's just do one of these, and he would fill an entire day.
It's just the insurance companies. It's just the insurance companies paying. The people don't even fucking pay.
Well, but at the end of the day, then my insurance goes up because he's abusing it, and that's why when people debate healthcare, my biggest issue is it's not if people are covered and how people are going to pay. My issue is where the bill is getting generated from. Like,
okay, let me jump in here then. Yeah. Okay, so I think we can find some common ground. Sure, it sounds like to me. Let's try to do that. I think that's much more productive. So with the medical weed, it sounds like to me what you're saying is that as long as it was, so we can both agree that there's lots of people that abuse the medical system, and I'll say the reason why they abuse it is because recreational weed isn't legal. Actually, that's not true. They still abuse it even when recreational weed is legal, and this is the point I want to get to, because the taxes are either non-existent or much
I agree,
lower.
Padre. I'm sorry, go ahead.
So do you agree with that? Like, would you be willing, let's say New York has medical weed, and let's say there was no abuse, or like, or they did more to crack down on it, and it was mostly people that legitimately medically needed the weed. Would you be in favor of your taxes going towards regulation of that, and rather than them having higher taxes on their medicine?
Well, I think I could go for something like that. I would have to look at the details of what the whole thing entails, what sort of regulation entails, because I mean, a lot New York City, for example, is a very regulated city, and it's a very dysfunctional city because the regulations are not really founded in reality.
Mm.
So
Well, usually with medical weed, it's kind of because like the whole deal with medical weed, you wouldn't have to do it with any other plant, right? Like if there were like roses, like had some sort of medical benefit, you would not need a law that says you're allowed to grow roses for your own use. You know what I mean? So like the whole reason that this whole thing exists and all this abuse exists is because recreational weed is illegal, right?
right, but I mean, going back to what you're asking though is like when it
Okay,
comes to
sorry.
regulation, my only issue about regulation is I believe regulation is okay in limited forms, and because I don't want over regulation. That's one positive thing that Trump did in his administration was do a lot of deregulation that opened up industries and really helped our economy, because there was regulation upon regulation that just didn't make sense, and it created an extra cost to businesses, which then translate to extra cost for me for products and services at the end of the day. So I'm I'm okay with some regulation, and I'm okay with if the regulation makes sense, and I'm okay with making that medical use of marijuana is not abused, because honestly my personal philosophy has always been that that was just a gateway, was an excuse used to usher in the legalization of marijuana in a way.
Would
I've
you be in favor of oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, would you be in favor of a law like a weed law, a legalization law like DC has, where I, as an adult, can have weed? I believe I can even grow it there, but it doesn't provide for any kind of markets or anything like that. Like just gives the individual person the right to possess the weed as an adult, possess the weed and grow it.
I think
And
something like
it
that,
doesn't
yeah.
give you the right to sell it. It doesn't like open you up where you can just do anything with it then or anything like that. But you would be in favor of just simply giving adults the right to have the plant and use it in their home.
Something like that I could agree with, because honestly my background, without going into too much detail about my whole genealogy or anything like that, but in my background there have been people who have houses in the country and they grow everything. I mean, they make their
Mhm.
own olive oil, they make their own wine, they make their own, they grow all their fruits and vegetables, they have farms with animals and stuff, and they butcher their own animals. So I am perfectly okay with people, if they want to grow their own plants and they want to make, like, they can make their own wine and booze, they make their own sausage, whatever. If people want to do that on their own, it doesn't bother me. My only issue is like, it's more making it an industry, distribution, making it like making gummy bears that kids could mistake for just regular candy. I mean, I remember, I'm old enough to remember when there was this big stink about vitamins looking too much like candy. And nowadays I see gummy vitamins all over the place.
I don't ever remember that being a deal. I remember when I was a kid, they weren't gummies back then. They were like little candy. They were like, I don't know. I don't ever remember that being an issue, but I believe you. I mean, it should be. Like, kids can hurt themselves taking too many vitamins and shit like that,
Exactly. So that's what I mean. It's like I feel that.
And I agree with you on these issues. Like, I mean, I don't know what the answer is, but I think that because like the fact is it's kind of like the whole fruity drinks, right? Like,
Mhm.
okay, we can't have gummies for weed. Well, can you have a fucking pina colada or a fucking fuzzy navel or a daiquiri for alcohol? Because kids like that kind of shit too. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like a double-edged sword. Like, I mean, even you maybe you have some effect if you take away the gummies, but you're just taking away something that an adult wants to use. You know what I mean? It's not. I don't think that those things were necessarily designed for children, even though children like them. I mean, we were all
No,
children, right?
no, I agree with that. It's not. I don't think, like, for let me be clear. I don't think that uh these edibles that are made are made with the thought of, oh, we're just gonna trick kids into eating weed and stuff. I don't believe that that's the intention. I'm just saying as a side effect that could happen if people are irresponsible with with the products that they purchase. And so that's where the education comes in, and and people need to treat this as they treat alcohol. They have to be adults about it.
So
And
I think it sounds like in principle you're for it. It's just you want to be careful with how it's funded and how it's regulated, right? You want it
for the most part,
pretty.
yes. I mean, for the most part, like me personally, I will never do weed myself. For me, it's my own personal choice. It's not something I've ever been attracted to. It's not something I desire to get into. I'm not a person who enjoys any sort of substance abuse of any kind. I don't really drink to excess. I like wine with a meal. I mean, it's not like I'm not a Puritan, but
Well,
uh,
I assume you also aren't planning on trying a 12-inch black strap on. You know what I mean? But like, I think you still think people have the right to buy it if they want,
if they
right?
want to buy it, if they want to do it, I don't care. I just don't want my money going towards the manufacturer of 12-inch black strap ons. Basically, that's my argument. It's like I believe in freedom. I believe people are free to make their own decisions. I believe that people should be treated as adults. Uh, I don't believe that
Wait,
things should be excessively criminalized. Certain things, like certain hard drugs, I don't think should be just allowed. Like I don't think what Oregon is doing is really that smart. I
oh, I
because
agree.
I think that's a
I
that's
agree
a
with you.
problem.
With you, I mean, in principle, I'm in favor of legalizing all drugs, but like decriminalizing all drugs is like a different issue because all you've really done there is you've subsidized the black market to an extreme degree. You know,
Yeah.
because all those people are still buying their drugs off drug dealers that ultimately got smuggled in
Oh,
from.
I hate that term adulting. Oh, I hate that term so much. Sorry, go ahead. I'm looking at chat while I'm talking to you.
Oh, no worries, man. Yeah, so I think we kind of agree on that. I think we might not agree on what the potential solution should be because I think it should be a more regulated legal drugs market for everybody. Uh,
I think some regulation is fine. I think that it needs to be done intelligently. It needs to be done in a limited fashion, and I just don't want my money going to it. That's all. And if they can do that, then it doesn't bother me. But but what I've seen, this is the only problem that I've seen, that a lot of people that are very much pro legalization of all this stuff, they don't have that nuanced approach. They just want to open all the floodgates as much as possible. And that
right,
and that's
because they've been oppressed for so long
and I
is
get
why.
it.
You know what I mean? They've been living at the I mean, people, and they're also completely in a bubble as well.
In a
You know what
way,
I
yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Like
And I,
they're in like a weed bubble, just like people who are anti-weed can be in a bubble as well, but probably less so because there's so many people smoking weed now that you can't get away from it. Everybody's got friends now.
yeah, I mean, I have friends who do that, and my friends and I have an understanding that if they want to do that, they know that they won't offer me anything because they know I'll say no. And I mean, and they respect my choices, I respect their choices, and I say, just if you do that stuff, I just need to step out because I can't smell because of my sinuses, and then when you're ready for me to come back in, for example, I'll come back in. No big deal. So as long as there's like this mutual understanding and respect about it, to me that's fine. And if the legalization of it is done in a way that, like I said, doesn't take my money, it's not detrimental to society, it's not a problem, then if people want to individually like grow plants, like I don't believe in criminalizing it. And if people want to grow plants in their house, like I said, if people want to make their own wine and limoncello or whatever, they want to make their own booze, I don't care. It doesn't
I
bother. It
agree.
doesn't bother me.
I think we found a lot of common ground. I think in principle we agree, and I mean I don't even think we necessarily disagree about implementation. Like I tend to agree with you that weed's an easy one in my opinion as far as legalizing drugs because weed is the one drug that easily pays for itself, right? Like I mean the evidence is clear. You look at any state that's legalized, they're just getting enormous amounts of tax revenue from it. Um, I'm not saying it's funding their whole state or anything, but it definitely like pays for itself. So
Yeah.
Like, I don't think the issues is strong with weed, but if you did start getting into other substances like heroin or cocaine or something like that, legalizing those substances, then obviously um, there'd have to be like a really heavy regulatory process. It'd be very expensive. I guess like your trade-offs there, you'd have to look at like how much the police save from enforcement, like how much you save from jailing people and things like that. And I do think those are things to consider, but I don't think you really have to consider them with weed. Like it's irrelevant. They make
I don't know.
more money. You don't even have to consider how much less they spend on enforcement and things like that.
I'm not
Um,
sure because I mean, alcohol is a good benchmark to see how something that is regulated, police enforced. There's all this stuff that happens with alcohol that you're gonna have. It's not gonna be the exact same thing because, like you said, there are different, pretty big, obvious differences between consumption of weed versus consumption of alcohol. So there are differences, and there may be less or more depending on of enforcement, depending on what the focus needs to be on. So I don't know all the answers, and we don't have all the answers because this is still something that's ongoing, I feel.
well, 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 there's some interesting things. That's why I was trying to bring up Colorado, because Colorado is actually the place where we have the most data from. You know what I mean? Since it's been legal there for 7 years now, almost 7 years. And like they have like it's interesting in Colorado, the weed market's now bigger than the alcohol market, right?
Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy to just even think about. Like in 7 years, it's taken over. But you pay about a four. I mean, the taxes go different places. It doesn't all go to the state, but in some places, like in Denver, you're paying 40% tax on weed. You know,
Yeah.
like and they're paying taxes at the other levels of the process too. Like the growers are paying a tax too. So I mean, it's pretty crazy, like how much taxes they get off that. And you can look at the numbers, and you can see that like in the first couple of years, they actually collected way more taxes than they thought they would. And it was funny because like Colorado has this funny law that like, so when the government like departments, they like um they how what's the word to put it, they estimate how much taxes they're going to receive in a year, and if they exceed that by a certain amount, then everybody, they've got to like give it back to the people, right? They've got to give the taxes back because they collected too much. It's some old law, right? So like the
Well, I
first
mean
year or
that
two
does happen, and that happens at the federal level too. If you overpay in taxes, that's why you get returns.
so the first year or two, they overpaid taxes like more than they estimated overall that they would need. So like for the like last few weeks of the year, they made weed tax free. They had to just like take all the taxes off weed because they made too much in taxes. Like they
Mm.
made it too much according to their law in taxes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, each state is different as well. So you got to see how, like, because what happens in Colorado won't necessarily happen in, I don't know,
No,
North
no,
Carolina, for
Colorado
example.
is going to be a special case because for a lot of reasons, because mainly because it was the first one. There was actually a pilgrimage, Colorado, of all kinds of people from all over the country
Oh yeah.
because illegal weed, so
Yeah.
like, which isn't going to happen to a place like, I don't know what's a good what just legalized like New Jersey. Like people aren't going to be like flocking. Well, actually, that's not true. People from New York might, but only if they don't legalize really quick.
Well,
But
I can tell you, like I was saying about New York City. I don't know about the state, but I can tell you for New York City, they have things and regulations put in place where essentially it's decriminalized. There are some like distribution places already there where that you could go, and even though it's technically not legal, within quotes, um you
it's not
can,
enforced.
well, you can have, the city allows you to have like the licenses and everything to distribute this stuff. So even though, which is
Oh,
weird,
I
it's
would
very
like to
it's
see some data on that. Like if you've ever seen an article on that, I'd love, like if the city of New York is actually giving people licenses to sell weed, that'd be very interesting to me. I'm not saying you're wrong.
You
I
know,
just never heard of that.
I'm not. Well, let me just preface that I'm not entirely sure if it's an actual license that they're given, but they are allowed to operate in one form or another. I don't know if it's a license
Okay,
per se.
that makes sense. So let me give you an example of what I've come across a lot in California, right? So California has legalized weed a couple years ago, and it is like Colorado, like a lot of places, very expensive, very heavily regulated, that's heavily taxed. Um, so people don't really like going to those dispensaries, you know. So what's happened is like in all these random little strip malls and stuff in these suburbs where the suburb has like not allowed dispensaries there, people will open up just illegal dispensaries, and it's like a civil problem with the government at that point. So they just operate illegally, like all day long. And then eventually, after a few weeks, the cops will come in. They'll literally arrest all the people working there, and then they go to jail. They get bailed out the same day, and then they go to work the next day.
Yeah, but
And their
I'm not.
bosses
I'm
pay
not
them.
aware. I'm not aware of any sort of legal action taken on the side of the city, for example, when it comes to New York. Uh,
Right. So they just like this is only because I'm in San Diego, which is a little more conservative. They might not enforce it. You know what I mean? Like you can do things. You can have an illegal business, and
hey,
then the
Super
government
Susie,
can just.
welcome to the stream.
Anyway, I don't know the details. It is interesting to me, but like it doesn't make it legal per se. It's more of a decriminalization or just a choosing not to enforce it. Um,
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the nuances, honestly, because I'm not even in New York anymore. So all I know is that when
Good.
I was there and I was working there, I was dealing with people who were heavily involved in the lobbying of trying to make it all legalized, but they were also working with like accountants and other people that would support businesses in and outside of New York City. So they would help people in New Jersey, for example, and they would help people that even if their business wasn't in New York allowed
Oh yeah.
them allowed out of state, because like New Jersey they legalized it, so they would allow businesses in New York to operate and distribute within the city. So there was like all this tax nuances between both states, and New York has its own tax stuff too as the city itself, believe it or not. So
Well, I think New Jersey just legalized, so I don't even think it's in effect yet in New Jersey. Is it? Is it already in effect?
I thought that they
Maybe.
already did because
I know that they passed it in November, but they usually or you might I don't know. I'm actually like New Jersey's so weird because it's been on the ballot and in the fucking Congress. I've read so many different like possibilities about how they'll do shit there. And that's how New York's going to be. Like it's not whether or not they'll legalize it. It's like which Jew gets to profit more from it. You know what I mean?
I guess, yeah. All right.
I mean, sorry.
Well,
My bad. I didn't.
no, it's
Anyway.
fine. It's I get it. I get it. It's not, I understand your point. But anyways, with that on that note, I think like I agree. There's stuff that we see eye to eye on. There is common ground there. I mean at least you understand the concerns that I have when it comes to that sort of thing. That's all I was really asking when I was talking about this stuff, is that at least even if we don't agree on certain things, at least you understand what the concerns were that I have. And I think
It's hard to express yourself in text with like a 2-minute
yeah,
delay. You know, that's all I'm saying. It's like
I
by the
get that.
time you're responding to what I said, it's been gone. And then when I respond back, you're like, it's 4 minutes for you. And it's like, oh, okay, you know, that we're not even talking about that anymore.
Shalom, yeah.
Shalom.
You're out of here, Herb. You said the J word. Yeah.
I've been to Israel. I kissed the wall.
Okay, that gives you some cred. That gives you some cred. All right.
I didn't actually kiss it. But
Okay.
anyway, buddy, thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
And yeah, we should. I would like to have like talks like this other times. I don't know if you ever want to. It doesn't have to be a debate. I don't really like debates as much as discussions. But anyway,
No, I mean, hey,
have a good day.
as I move forward here with the stream, I'm trying to figure out what other stuff I can do, and I would love to have people come on and talk and have discussions. And I've been trying to see if I can even convince some more high profile like people to come on and talk. Like I've been tweeting people and say, hey, why don't you come on to my stream and tell give your side of stuff. So like I've been DMing a couple people, so I don't think anybody's gonna bite that though, but we'll see.
All right. Well, cool. Well, you're always welcome to hop in the fucking cantina. You know,
Yeah.
people are usually hanging around in the evening. But anyway, take it easy, buddy.
All right, take it easy. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, so back on air. Here we are. I wasn't even sure if that was showing any other icons besides mine. I wasn't even paying attention to that. But anyways, yeah. Yeah, I mean the whole thing about the legalization of weed and such like that is pretty much kind of like what we were just talking about. It's like if people want to do that stuff, if they want to grow plants in their house, I don't care. It doesn't bother me. It's just I take issue with overregulation, taxes, all government gobbledygook is where I have an issue. But going back on track with the stream here, let me see if there's anything else I really wanted to discuss. If there's anything that's happening in the news. Let's see here. Yep, I'm glad to move on. I mean, we pretty much beat that horse to death. Let's see. There's Joe Manchin is trending for some reason. News still exists in some retarded form. I mean, it's all biased garbage anyways. So I don't know. It's a mess in my opinion. I did see I mentioned this before the debate. Did you see that David Hogg is on Tinder? And he's talking about like how he has a quote beard, so he doesn't understand why people call him a beta male, but if you look at his beard, I mean, listen, I'm not gonna criticize beards because I, for one, I cannot have a lumberjack beard. It doesn't work for me. You mean Grinder? No, it was Tinder. He's on an he was he was saying something like he's in an ethically non-monogamous relationship, which I don't even know what that's supposed to mean. So I guess it's he's in a relationship, I guess, with someone, and they're allowed, they've agreed to see other people at the same time, I guess. I don't know. I really don't know what that is. But yeah, it's hilarious, frankly, that he's on Tinder. And his profile, if you look at what because someone took a screenshot of it and posted it, what he's written in his profile is the stupidest thing on this planet. What about Bitcoin? I don't know what's going on with Bitcoin. Oh, hey, if you could pull off a great mustache, I mean, not a lot of people can pull off a mustache. So, hey, I give you full kudos to that. Anything from Broward County does. Yeah. No, Broward County is probably one of the worst counties I've ever, like, all the news that comes out of there, everything that's been coming out of there recently has been such trash. It's amazing. It's pretty amazing. Oh yeah, Ted Cruz. This is something new too. I'm blocking this asshole as well. Ted Cruz is another on the long list of Republican traitors. Yeah, Broward County, like all the news that I've heard ever coming out of Broward County it's just been terrible stuff, absolute trash. So, but yeah, going back to Ted Cruz, he's now on the list of traitors, much like the rest of the Republicans, in my view. MicroStrategy Bitcoin for corporations meeting is today. Well, Ted Cruz got on the Senate floor and he was talking about how Trump is basically was being reckless and irresponsible, and he basically threw Trump under the bus, saying that Trump is responsible for what happened at the Capitol. So he basically flipped and betrayed Trump just like everybody else. So he's a traitor just like every other Republican. And I said this, anything with an R at the end of their name are traitors to this country. Yep, that's pretty much what he did. So fuck him, fuck the Republicans. They're all traitors in my view because they allow for this dictator pedophile to be in power. And yeah, that's where we're at. There were sit-ins by Antifa and the left, and people pounding on the doors of the Supreme Court, and other people being there was not, people were let into the Capitol. So this wasn't any sort of insurrection. Bitcoin is pumping. Pray for no coiners. I think I'm a no coiner. I don't own any crypto. But if people want to donate some crypto, hey, I have my address there in the description in Bitwave and wherever the description shows up, in YouTube as well. You guys can send me some crypto if you want. You guys can also buy me a coffee if you want. If you like what I do, if you want to support me, and I could use the support right now because of this whole COVID garbage, I would appreciate that. I wouldn't mind that, but whatever. Yeah, Ethereum. I'm sure Ethereum is pumping too. Yeah, so also follow me on social media because I don't know how long I'm going to keep Twitter up. I may switch to something different. Or just reduce the amount of social media I'm on. I may just yeah, buy me a coffee, sir. Thank you. And it may be that that I get rid of Twitter and I only stick to a handful of platforms now. Maybe even reduce the number of places that I stream to, because posting and streaming on all these platforms, honestly, there's only a handful where I get any real views anyways. So I don't know. I mean, I got to think about that. I got to think about what I want to do moving forward. So follow me on all the different platforms I'm on, because who knows which ones I'm gonna hold on to. And I, of course, obviously will let people know what my actions are going to be moving forward. With that, I think we're at a good point here for me to end the stream. I need to get some food in me, and I think we talked enough. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Same time, around 10:30ish a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to talk always about the usual stuff here, news and blah, blah, blah. So, and politics and all that fun stuff. So, stick around. Not quite along those lines. Definitely not the FBI, but I mean, I'm not an e-beggar. I don't depend on this. I never have, and I never want to, honestly. Like, I'm not Kitty, for example. I'm not Kitty Styles, that he, like, demanded that people supported him. I don't. If people want to, I appreciate it. I do. But I understand people's circumstances. So if, it's up to you guys. It's up to anybody who watches me. If you feel like there's any level of generosity you have that you want to share, great. If not, kudos to you anyways. I appreciate you watching and listening and supporting in that fashion. Actually, the best way that people can support me, as I usually say, is just share my streams, share my social media, help me grow. The more eyeballs and the more ears that are watching and listening, the better for me. So that's really the best thing you guys can do. But I will let you guys go. Remember, kids, I've been trying to think of a new catchphrase, but I can't think of any, so I'm going to keep using mine because it still applies in a certain way. So remember, kids, don't be complacent. We'll see you tomorrow.